Today we are going to see joint venture accounting part 2. We have already seen joint venture accounting part 1 where an independent accountant has been employed to record the joint venture business transaction. In joint venture accounting part 2, there will be no independent accountant to be employed to keep record of joint venture transaction. The joint venture transaction will be kept by each or any co-venturer. That is, the transaction of the joint venture business will be kept either by each co-venturer or by any co-venturer. So, all books of accounts will be kept by, let's say, co-venturer A. So, the bank account of co-venturer A will be used for joint venture business transaction. For example, A purchases material for joint venture business. So debit joint venture account and then credit the bank account of co-venturer A. The other accounts of co-venturer A will be adjusted accordingly. For example, if A supply motor van to the joint venture business, so in this case we will debit the joint venture account and then we have to credit the motor van account of co-venturer A because the motor van will reduce for co-venturer A. So in case the books of accounts is kept by A, the co-venturer, we will use his own bank account to record joint venture transaction. And his other accounts will be corrected accordingly. So in this case, no need to open a separate joint venture bank account. Either we will use a bank account of co-venturer A or we will use a bank account of co-venturer B. So we have to see who is keeping record of business transaction. If A is keeping record of joint venture business transaction, therefore the bank account of A will be used and his other accounts will be adjusted accordingly. So as such, the capital requirement to start such type of joint venture business will be nil, will be zero, no capital requirement. So we will use the money in the bank account of each of the co-venturer who is keeping accounts of the joint venture business transaction. So, any transaction which is carried out by the other co-venturer B, he has to inform co-venturer A who is keeping the record of the joint venture transaction. So any transaction carried out by co-venturer A, he has to inform any transaction carried out by co-venturer B, he has to inform co-venturer A about this transaction so that A can record the transaction in the books of the joint venture business. For example, A purchases material for joint venture. B purchases material for joint venture. So we debit the joint venture account and then we have to credit the co-venturer's account B. Material assets, expenses paid by A. So debit joint venture, credit bank account of A. Material assets, expenses paid by co-venturer B. Debit joint venture, credit co-venture's account B. Material assets supplied by A. Debit. For example, if material assets supplied by A, for example, motor one supplied by A. Therefore, we have to debit joint venture account, credit motor one account of A, because the motor one account of A will reduce. Material assets supplied by B. Debit joint venture account, credit co-venturers account B. Material assets taken over by A. Credit joint venture, debit materials account of A, because materials accounts of A will reduce. Will increase. Material taken over, so the materials for A will increase. Therefore, we debit materials account for co-venture A, and then we credit joint venture account because it will represent an income for the joint venture business. Material assets taken over by B. Debit co-venture B, credit joint venture account. Assets material sold by A. Credit joint venture, debit bank account of A. Assets material sold by B. Credit joint venture, debit co-venturers account B. So this is the second part of the joint venture accounting, where the books of account will be kept either by one co-venturer or by both or by any co-venturer. So in case each co-venturer will keep the books of accounts of the joint venture business, so there will be parallel accounting, that is, there will be duplication of information. So that's why only one co-venturer will keep all books of accounts. And the co-venturer who is keeping the books of account, his own bank account will be used for joint venture transaction. And his other accounts also will be adjusted accordingly. For example, co-venturer A is keeping the books of accounts. If he supply materials to the co-venture business, the joint venture business, so materials, so in this case we debit the joint venture account and then we credit the material accounts of A, because material accounts of A will reduce. In case A is supplying motor one to the joint venture business, again we have to adjust the motor one account for co-venturer A. So there we are so far concerning joint venture accounting part 2. Thank you very much. Yes, today we are going to see joint venture accounting part 2, a concept building question. Anderson and Robinson entered into a joint venture business in order to build a hospital. The following information were given. No joint venture bank account is open. Anderson keep all books of accounts for joint venture transaction. Anderson purchased materials for joint venture business, $60,000. Robinson purchased materials for joint venture business, $40,000. Anderson purchased motor van, $70,000 for joint venture business. Robinson purchased equipment for joint venture business, $75,500. Anderson supplied equipment to the joint venture business, $16,000. Anderson took over materials, $3,000. Robinson supplied fixtures, $10,000. Robinson took over inventory of materials, $6,500. Anderson collected cash, $500,000 for joint venture business. Robinson collected cash, $680,000 for joint venture business. Profit and losses in the ratio of 2:3. Required joint venture account, co-venturers account. So here is a question. Anderson purchased materials for joint venture business 60,000. Therefore, we have to debit in joint venture account materials 60,000. Then we have to credit in the bank account of Henderson because Henderson is keeping accounts. Therefore, in the credit side of bank account, we have to record 60,000. Adjustment number 2. Robinson purchased materials for joint venture business 40,000. So it will be debited. Robinson purchased materials on the debit side 40,000. And then we have to credit in Robinson account materials. Robinson purchased materials for joint venture business 40,000. Therefore, we have to debit in joint venture account 40,000 and then credit in Robinson account 40,000. Adjustment number 3. Anderson purchased motor van 70,000 for joint venture business. So we have to debit in the joint venture account. We write down motor van 70,000. And then we have to credit in the bank account of Anderson motor van 70,000. Then adjustment number 4. Robinson purchased equipment for joint venture business 75,500. Therefore, we have to debit in Anderson took over materials 3,000. It will represent an income for the joint venture business. We have to credit in joint venture account 3,000. And then the materials for Anderson will increase by 3,000. Therefore, we have to debit materials accounts for Anderson 3,000. And then we have adjustment number 7. Robinson supplied fixtures $10,000. We have to debit in joint venture account fixtures $10,000. Then we have to credit Robinson account fixtures $10,000. Okay. Adjustment number 8. Robinson took over inventory of materials 6,500. Therefore, we have to credit joint venture account materials taken 6,500. And then we have to debit Robinson account materials taken 6,500. Then we have to see adjustment number 9. Anderson collected cash 500,000 for joint venture. On the credit side of joint venture account, cash collected 500,000. Anderson, therefore we have to debit Anderson account, bank account, joint venture 500,000. Yes, we have to close a joint venture account. So we will have a total of 11,89,500. And then we have 11,89,500. Then we will have profit for Anderson. And then we have profit for Robinson. Anderson profit 367,200. And then we have 550 with some. Okay, then we have to transfer the profit to Robinson account. Robinson profit to Robinson account profit 580 800. Then we have to close the bank account, balance CD, balance BD, 610 000 bank account, and then we have to balance the equipment account. We have a total of 150 000, 150 000 here, 150 000, we deduct 16 000, we get balance CD in equipment account, 134 000, balance BD, 134 000. And then we have to close the materials account. Materials account, we have a total of 53 000. 53 000. Then we'll get a balance CD, 53 000. Then we have to close the trade payable account. No adjustment has been included, 440 000. We have closed all the accounts. We have closed joint venture account. We have closed Robinson. No, we have to close Robinson account. So we have a total of Robinson account. We have a total of 686 500, 686 500, 686 500. Then we get balance CD 10 200, and then balance BD 10 200 in Robinson account. Now we have closed this Robinson account. We have already closed bank account, and then equipment account, materials account. We have closed the trade payable account, and now we are going to prepare the trial balance. So in the trial balance, we will have balance for bank 610 000, and then we have equipment. The balance for equipment 134 000. Then we have materials, we have 53 000 balance, and then we have Robinson balance in Robinson account represent trade receivable 10 200. Then we have trade payable on the credit side 440 000. And then we have to transfer the profit. We have to record profit on joint venture. Profit 367 200. Then we have to close the trial balance. It will balance by 807 200. 807 200. Here also 807 200. So the trial balance has been balanced. Now we see we have prepared the joint venture account, and then we transfer the profit to Robinson account. We balance Robinson account. The profit for Anderson will have to be transferred to his income statement. That is, and then we have bank account, and then equipment account, materials account, trade payable account, and then the trial balance.